Okay, let's start over again. Okay, it's okay. It's okay, we can salvage this. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. As you can see from the title of the video, we're going to be talking about the new palette from Stila, the After Hours palette. There are two palettes that they put out at the same time. There's the After Hours. There's another one that looks identical from the outside called the Happy Hour. The inside is obviously different. I'll post a picture of the Happy Hour one here. I didn't purchase that. These both retail for $68, and that's a lot of coin to spend on two palettes, so I just stuck to the one. As I said, we're going to review it, so let's do this. So as I said, I have the After Hours palette, and it is $68 Canadian. I did notice that the Happy Hour palette is not available on the Canadian Sephora website. I'm not sure about the American, but you can get it through the Shoppers Drug Mart Beauty Boutique website, and you can also get it in stores at some beauty boutiques or on the Stila website as well. Okay, for the $68, you are getting a rather hefty palette, to be honest. It does have a good amount of weight to it. It's a nice hard outer packaging, no cardboard, anything like that. And it does have a mirror that runs across the length of the palette. There are 12 eyeshadows inside, and these are all sort of warm, earthy tones with a few more colorful options. I don't know that I would really even consider these to be pops of color because I don't really feel that they stand out obviously. They are colorful, but they're not like, your eye's not immediately drawn to them. They play in really nicely with the rest of the tones. It sounds like a complaint, it's not. And I'm very glad that they resisted the urge to put a blue in here. I'm very glad. The purple and the green go beautifully with the other earth tones that are in here, so I am very happy with the choice that they have made with regards to the more colorful options. In terms of finishes, you're getting some mattes, you get shimmers, and you have some glitter shadows in here. They are not pressed glitters, so they're not just straight up glitter in like a gel. They're an eyeshadow with little bits of glitter in them. I find overall that that is a lot easier to work with than a pressed glitter, and it functions very much like an eyeshadow, whereas I find that with glitters, especially when they're in that like jelly base, they kind of scoop around and then they lift themselves up, and overall, for the most part, I find them very difficult to work with. These eyeshadows are not difficult to work with. So I did film my swatching of them separately. I'm going to insert that here and then just give you some information about the shades as we go through. So here we go. The first shade is called Toast, and this is one of the glitter shades. You can see that it's a very pretty champagne-y kind of color. I think Toast is a very appropriate name for it. It is absolutely beautiful. I did have a difficult time sort of capturing it on video, but on the eyes it translates beautifully. The next shade is called Last Round, and this is a matte shadow. Sort of a neutral, nudish kind of brown. I like this one as a transition shade. Up next is Sunset Soiree. This is a burnt orange shimmer. Then we have Pink Bubbly, which is a baby pink shimmer shadow. This looks like the kind of shadow that would have like a duochrome shift to it, but it doesn't. It is just like a basic baby pink shimmery shadow. Then we have Velvet Rope. They call it a garnet glitter. I call it purple, but it is very much like a reddish toned purple. The shade that I'm wearing on my lid today is this one here called Cash Out, and it is a green glitter shadow. Then we have Bellini, and this is a light peach shimmer shadow. This gorgeous deep brown matte color is called All Nighter, and I really like that they put a deep brown in instead of putting in a black. Up next is Bright Lights. The Stila website calls this a butter gold glitter. really don't think it's a glitter. I really don't. I would classify this more as a shimmer, and it's more like a champagne. Then we have another sort of mid-toned brown, and this is called Anything Goes. Next up is Tomorrow's Tale, which is another matte shadow, and it's like a red-brown. Then finally we have After Party, which is a glittery brown shadow. As you can see from the swatches, these shadows are very nice to work with. There's nothing that's particularly patchy, nothing looks really dusty on the arm, and they all blend out nicely. On the Stila website, it does say that all of these shadows are formulated with micronized silicone-treated pigments, and that's to help with the blendability and to make sure that they have a uniform and even color throughout. As you saw, the swatches were just done with my finger, but I can say that when I apply them with a brush to my eyes, I really don't have any difficulty blending them out. I did film this eye look, and I am going to insert it in this video so that you can see just how easily everything blends out and how easy it is to apply, particularly the glitter shadows. Like I said, they're not pressed glitters, so they are very easy to apply. I just treat them like any other shimmer shadow, spray them with a bit of setting spray, and that really helps to lock them into place. Although, I will say, I've had my makeup on for about 6.5 hours at this point, and I do have a good amount of glitter on my face. It's nothing super obvious, like my mirror is right here. I can see a little bit of it, but it is like incredibly small, little tiny particles, and it's pretty much all just in this area here, so it's like it kind of just fell down from the inner corner of my eyes, which kind of makes sense because that's where the most of it is. The most of it? Does that work? Yeah, that works. That's where most of it is, we'll put it that way. I do have a little bit transferred up towards my eyebrow as well, but overall it's nothing super obvious. I can see it because I'm looking for it, but anybody else might think it's just part of the rest of my makeup because there's such fine glitter particles. I think if you used a glitter glue, it would probably help, but I don't really mind what's going on my face because it's not, like I said, super obvious. I will say, it hasn't really creased up, which is also very good. And although there is a little bit of transfer up, I'm not surprised by that because that almost always happens simply because I have slightly hooded eyes. But the rest of the matte shadows, all of them have still held their integrity. They're still there, nothing has really super faded. And even though some of that glitter has come out and off of the glitter shadow, there's still quite a bit going on the eyes still. And it's beautiful. That green is like my favorite in this palette. So in terms of quality, I really don't have any complaints with this palette. I think that they did a great job with it. I would probably make some changes in here just to suit my own personal preferences. And really, the main one relates to these two shades right here. I would just tweak them slightly so that there's a little bit more of a difference between them. There's definitely a tonal difference, like this has definitely got a red undertone, whereas this is far more neutral, but they're on the same level in terms of their depth. Like I would like to see this just a hair on the lighter side, just so that there is a little bit more of a distinction between them, particularly for creating, you know, a crease and then really deepening up the outside with that dark brown. I would like something sort of between this shade here and this one over here. I'd like this one a little bit closer to that tone, just by like a shade or two. It's a minor complaint and it's really just to help with the versatility. Overall, I'm not overly fussy about that, like I'm really not. But I would like a little bit more distinction there, as I would also like a little bit more distinction over here. When I did the swatches, you can see they are very different, like they are different. One again is a lot more red, and then the other one is more peach toned. So there they are there. But they're kind of, in my mind, they're still kind of on the same level. I think even if this one had like a little bit of a shift to it, like just like maybe a hint of a pink shift in there, just to bring a different element to it so it doesn't just look like a toned down version of the deeper one. Again, I think it would improve the versatility of the palette. There is that baby pink. I'm not a huge fan of this one. If there was one shadow in this palette that I could do without, it would be this one. Simply because it doesn't really make an impact. Like, it's so pale that it doesn't really stand up on its own. And while it is considered pink, and in the pan it looks pink, once you take it out of the pan and sort of blend it around, it kind of loses that pink element and just looks more like a white or cream kind of shade. Like a hint of pink, but it's really, really subtle. So I think that is one that I would tweak, either make it a bit more of a pink or just change the tone altogether, just so that there is, again, more variety. Because it is a very neutral palette, a very warm neutral palette. There could have been, it's sort of a missed opportunity in my mind. Either make it like a super foiled pink, like I'm thinking of like Pink Champagne from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This one just, I don't get an awful lot of use out of it because it really just doesn't bring anything to the table. Aside from those sort of minor issues, the palette is really good. I really do like the performance of it. I will say the glitter shadows, they do rain a little bit of glitter, but they do last very well. And the shimmer shadows do as well. I'm not sure why they're calling this one a glitter, because it's definitely not. But this is one that I love, like all over the lid with just a little bit of the brown in the crease. And it's just a great, easy, but put together and polished look. It's definitely not a glitter, so the site lies. It is a shimmer for sure, but there's no glitter in there. In terms of the packaging, I like how sturdy it is. I do like when the lid flips all the way back, just because I find it easier to hold than like holding something like this. But it is very sturdy. It's got a very good, strong magnetic clasp. Like I said, there's a lot of heft to it. It's surprisingly heavy for what it is. When I first brought it out of the box, I was a little disappointed that it was a matte gold. I don't know why. I wanted it to be shiny, but I appreciate this because it doesn't show fingerprints. So aesthetically, there it is. It does help with that. I think I would be annoyed if I had the other one, simply because they look so much alike. If there was like a color difference in the outer packaging for people who bought the two palettes, I think that would be appreciated. Or at least some sort of distinction other than little tiny print on the back to tell you what the name of the palette is. So those are my thoughts on the palette. I don't really have any major complaints about it. I wasn't frustrated using any of the shadows. I have been playing around with it, I'd say about 2 weeks now, and I've worn it a number of times. Each time it has performed very consistently. I've used all of the shadows that are in the palette, and I really haven't experienced any duds, with the exception of that baby pink. And it's not so much that the shadow is bad, it's just the color on my skin doesn't really show up. So, having said all that, let's take a look at this palette in action. Here we go.
I'm hoping what I said could make you change your mind, though it doesn't really matter when my hands are tied. I'm trying to walk across the bridges that I've burned. My only way to you is gone, the tide has turned. So give me a light, show me what I need. I know I'm blind, but I hear symphonies of your heartbeat. Trapped inside, I forgot to look beyond. I see the other side.
Alright, so now you've heard my thoughts on the palette, you've seen the swatches, and you've seen it being applied. There's really not much more information that I can give you. If you have any questions that I haven't answered, feel free to leave them down below. Otherwise, I thank you very much for taking the time to watch, and I'll see you in my next video. Until then, just be a decent human being. Bye for now.
Show me what I need.